Hi everyone! Today I'll be reviewing The Seven Deaths of EVELYN HARDCASTLE, a 2018 book by Stuart Turton. Hi people! Today I have this crazy book here to talk to you about. I don't even know where to start, but as I go through the book, I want to give you two options. I can either do a part 2 of this video so I can discuss some of my thoughts and go more into the spoilery side of things, or I can try and organize if there's enough interest in book club so he can talk about this book, because I think this book is so mind-bending. You kind of have to discuss with people. So as you hear me talk about this book, especially if you have never heard anything about it, just think about if you want a part 2 or if you want to join me in a book club, and I'll try to think about how we can make this happen. But oh man, I would say that this book does have another title. In the United States, it's called The 7.5 Deaths of EVELYN HARDCASTLE, and I do have to say that I absolutely love both titles, and I think they make a lot of sense, but I can't go into my theories as to why without spoiling it, so keep that in mind. I've been practicing, and I have a really hard time explaining this book off the bat, and I don't want to be too confusing. So as usual, I will read to you the synopsis, and after that I'll jump right into it. So for the plot summary, straight from the editors: somebody's going to be murdered at the ball tonight. It won't appear to be a murder, and so the murderer won't be caught. Rectify that injustice, and I'll show you the way out. Dun dun. It is meant to be a celebration, but it ends in tragedy. As fireworks explode overhead, EVELYN HARDCASTLE, the young and beautiful daughter of the house, is killed. But EVELYN will not die just once. Until Aidan, one of the guests summoned to Blackheath for the party, can solve her murder, the day will repeat itself over and over again, every time ending with a fateful pistol shot. The only way to break the cycle is to identify the killer, but each time the day begins again, Aidan wakes in the body of a different guest, and someone is determined to prevent him from escaping Blackheath. Okay. Yes, you heard that right. So this is almost, some people will call it a little bit of, Groundhog Day meets Agatha Christie meets Quantum Leap or quantum physics. And I can see why they would say that, but for me, I think more of if Doctor Who and Agatha Christie had a baby, and that baby was a mixture of Saw, Dante's Inferno, and quantum physics, you would probably get a little close to what this book is. That's how I saw it, and I thought that the book was really fantastic. So just to recap a little bit, this book is told through the perspective of Aidan Bishop. He's our main character, and this book happens over 8 days, but every day is exactly the same. So it's one day that repeats itself 8 times. And on each of these days, every time he wakes up, he is in a different body. So Aidan tells the book through his perspective, but also through the perspective of each one of the 8 characters whose body he inhabits. Sounds confusing, right? Because it is a little. So this is definitely the kind of book that you cannot skim, You cannot be distracted. It cannot be like background. You have to read and pay attention because the clues are there. So I would say that is definitely, like, it was a fantastic read. I could not put it down. And I would say the one thing that Stuart did very well was build these characters. Though each character is so different from each other, and you really feel them and the force that drives them, as well as he was able to create this atmosphere psychologically from Aiden's perspective when he learns what kind of game he's playing and where he is at and what he needs to do. And as you know, the clock ticks, as he only has 8 chances, because if that doesn't happen, then he will forget everything and start it all over again. So the clock is ticking for him, and you feel that atmosphere. You also feel that you are in Blackheath and in the surrounding forest and all the settings, and you also feel very much at that time the book sets place. It's a 1920s kind of book, so the characters do present themselves as people from the era, and I find that nowadays contemporary authors do, it's always hit and miss if they can capture the era. If they write it from, now a decade in the past, they have not lived or experienced. And I think Stuart definitely hit the nail on the head with that one. So just that, and as I was reading and the theories was forming my head, and you find one thing and you find another, I just felt that I really could not put it down. And after each chapter, you have thoughts. And again, so this book is not linear, as it is the same day told through 8 different characters. And there is time loops, and there's also the fact that Aiden will inhabit each body for 24 hours. So, for example, if he inhabits a body of someone who naps, as soon as that person naps, another day starts for him. But then when he sleeps again, if it's at the same time, he'll go back to that body. It's a little complicated, but it's not complicated when you're reading. I'm just saying this because it's hard for me not to go too much into the book without spoiling, because of the nature it's not linear. The one thing I really wanted to point out is that I've seen some reviews, and I've seen a lot of people say that they felt cheated by this book because there was no clue whatsoever to some of the plot twists. And I would say that I paid really very close attention to everything. And I would say that in my humble opinion, those people might not have read the same book as I did, or they expect different kind of clues, because I don't think that Stuart Turton played unfair at all. He played extremely fair, but some of his clues were psychological or very subtle. So it's not like everything is written up for you. But if you just pay attention to the psychology of each of the characters, I don't think the solution came out of the blue at all. In fact, some of them I had already kind of guessed, or when they're not necessarily everything. But one thing I would say about the end is that all the clues were there. He played really fair, but towards the end, there were 2 twists that were back to back. And even though you received the clues right before, I felt that at the moment it was so engaging that I didn't even have time to think about it, but I didn't feel cheated. And fair play, Stuart. And one thing that I want to say too is that this book has quite a few trigger warnings. And sorry, I moved. My dog just needed to go out, so I let him out. And I want to apologize if you can hear my dog. He's just around now. But if there's one thing that I do have to mention, is that this book does have quite a few trigger warnings. The main one is, if memory serves, or animal abuse, sexual abuse, substance abuse, and arguably fat shaming. because that's another thing that I read quite a few comments mention on Goodreads, is there the fat shaming of fat phobia in this book is disgusting and made a lot of people uncomfortable. As you can see, camera doesn't lie, I am fat, I am a large person, and I was not offended at all. And I think maybe I read something to the book that they didn't, because yes, there is this scene when Aiden wakes up in the body of a large person that he somewhat displays disgust, and some people didn't like the language that I was using, and they don't know if it was a literally description or if it was Stuart showing his colors. I disagree with those people, because the way I saw it and the way that I picture some of the characters, I think that Stuart did a very good job in embodying the 7 deadly sins, and one of them is gluttony, and I did feel that that character really was representing that. So because it wasn't just Lost in the book, there has been other deadly sin displayed in the form of other characters, and Aiden not always displayed. Oh, boo boo, so sorry. Aiden didn't always react well to those either. So I think some people might be offended, so I'm giving the warning to you. Personally, I was not offended because I thought it was all in the context of the book. Okay, Papa, you have to let go. He's so jealous. I'm giving attention to you guys, and now he wants all of my attention. I'm so sorry, but he won't stay with Luke and Jesse. As for my ratings, I gave this book a 9 in enjoyability. I deducted a point only because I felt, I don't know how to say this, because I feel that the book was long enough to be perfect, but it was too long because I just wanted to know what happened. I wanted to visit my theories, so it was like, at some points I felt like it was dragging too much, but only because I wanted to get to the end, not because the book felt like it was dragging, if that makes a sense. But because of that, I didn't really enjoy it 100%. Another one that I gave less than 10 was for plot, because like I mentioned, it reminded me of not necessarily like it's a copycat of other books, but there has been some elements that I have seen before. They were just never put together like this. So again, I can go into a lot of the reasons why without spoiling, but I would just say that at times I could definitely see, you know, influences from Dante's Inferno, from Agatha Christie, and from, believe it or not, Saw, you know, the movie, at least in my head. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but because of that I gave 8 to the plot. However, the execution was superb. So for execution, characters, ambiance, and fair play, I rated this book a 10. So in total, this book has received from me 4.75 mustaches. And I would definitely recommend it. So I'll leave it like here. I try to be as spoiler free as possible, but again, leave me a comment down below. Have you read this book? What did you think about the ending? Do you want to discuss it? And do you prefer, leave a little hot drink or a coffee in the comments below, an emoji saying if you prefer a book club, or if you want a part 2, just leave like an emoji of a smiley face, and then I'll check that out and definitely be working on that, because this book deserves to be shared with people. Thank you so much. On Wednesday, I'll go over the reason whys, but I'm taking a little bit a 2-week break. But I'll see you in about 2 weeks. And until then, I hope you have a fantastic new year. And don't forget to always be the hummingbird. Bye.